Greetings in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Melech of Yasharal, Kohen forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. All esteem, honor, and glory unto our Alua Yahuwah. My name is Mayakal Shalama. This is MELEK SHELOMOH Trading, and I'm gonna do a breakdown of a trade I did on ES in the London session. But before we start, let's do the risk disclosure.
General disclosure. All MELEK SHELOMOH Trading LLC materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
All right, so let's jump into the trade recap. Here we have, this is the London session. You see we open quite aggressively. I just want to point out something here with one of these bubbles is actually 3,422 volume went into that bubble right there. This one is actually 11,827. So it's safe to say that there's heavy volume buying in the London session and the market is uptrending. Let's go back a little bit to the ETH session. Right, so the ETH session had a lot of liquidity on the offer. All of that was taken out. So it's aggressive buying, pushing into this liquidity here. These people were willing to sell or enter the market if price came up to these levels, and big institutions at the London session executed those orders. So they matched those orders, right? So we came up here. This is a execution of a bowling green strategy. And because we're bullish, I'm looking to get aligned into a reversal or a pullback, right? So we have the London session open. We're way above here at floor pivot R3. We have a LPSY higher time frame from that's a Wyckoff theory structure. It's basically like a resistance level from a prior distribution. So that's a resistance level. We clearly broke above that level. Right, so that level is roughly at 58.37, or let's say 58.39. Right, let me just open it to be certain of 58.38. Right, so we broke above 58.38. This is the volume point of control anchored from the beginning of the ETH session. So that's marking the volume point of control. It's migrating around the chart. These dashed white lines are upper deviations anchored from the London session open. This here is VWAP. That's first upper deviation, second upper deviation, and 2.5 upper deviation, right? So actually that's 3.0 upper deviation. So looking for a pullback here. We have the massive buying coming in. We hit liquidity. This is kind of like a Black Sun strategy setup as well, where we run into, you might have like a buying climax, automatic reaction here. Then we get the uptrust and you start getting the push down, right? So I'm looking to get aligned on the long side. So I'm using the bowling green strategy, which is basically an accumulation structure between first and second. This is second lower deviation. That's first lower deviation. But in this case, the buying is so strong that it does not come down all the way to the first lower deviation. So the accumulation structure is happening just below VWAP, right? So we're going to open this up and take a look at how this developed. All right, so this is basically the selling climax right here. We have heavy volume coming in. That's the preliminary stop. We took out this liquidity here. So preliminary stop is basically the first sign of stopping the downtrend, right? So It's not a huge downtrend, it's just a pullback from the massive buying in the London Open. So basically like a downtrending pullback. Preliminary stop is basically the first sign. This could also be a preliminary stop. Excuse me. But we're looking for the last preliminary stop before the selling climax, right? So this is the preliminary stop. We rotate, we retest VWAP. We push down, we hit this liquidity on the bid. Volume starts to increase, so volume is here. Buyers are starting to absorb the price as it falls. Selling climax is here, heavy volume. We rotate. I'm going to open that up. You'll see a little small auction and then we break above. My entry is at 58.1850, right? So let's open this up a little bit. So some of the criteria on the checklist, I'm supposed to have a supporting pivot level, but at this point here, we're so high above all of these floor pivots. I think the closest floor pivot here would be, let's see if we even have one. Right, so the closest floor pivot would be R3, right? We're above the weekly floor pivot R1, right? So that's our closest pivot level. So we don't have a pivot level for support in the immediate area. Let me just open this. So we have support and liquidity on the bid, right? They're stacked up on the bid. This is the first lower deviation. We get the selling climax. We get an auction. And now I'm going to open that up a little bit so you can see the auction. And I use like a 30-second time slice. Right, so this is actually what I'm seeing while I'm entering the trade, right? So we have an auction here. This is the selling climax right here, right? That's the selling climax. See, I can move that up one. Right, so selling climax, we basically start auctioning above this liquidity levels. We break out of liquidity, 58.1550 is my entry right here, right? We basically break above this this prior auction pivot low, right? So we kind of pivot here, we break down, we auction, we break above that pivot level here, right? So that's my entry. So now let's put the auction into perspective. So after the selling climax, you get the automatic rally, which is basically here is retesting VWAP. This is my target really right here, this liquidity. And if we push above and we hold above and it's looking good, I might look to sell at higher prices, right? But initially, this is what I'm looking for, 58.29, basically 58.30, right? So automatic rally. So I'm breaking down the Wyckoff structure here, right? This is the selling climax. That's the automatic rally. You see the labels on the side as well, right? The secondary stop is going to be, I'm going to bring that into perspective now. Right, so the secondary stop is when we pull back after the automatic rally, which is right here, right? So after the secondary stop, we perform a uptrust action, which is a break above the automatic rally, right? So we broke above the automatic rally, basically heavy buying here at VWAP. We pull back, and this is how the accumulation structure uses manipulation to actually build a position, right? So they're actually buying in here, and you would get pullbacks. So they're pulling back price to get the best prices as possible, the lowest prices as possible, right? So this here would create the lowest point of support, right? So within the Wyckoff theory, we could actually get, after the secondary stop, uptrust, we could start getting a range price action between these levels, and then we get a spring and then a push out. right? So these guys aren't waiting for all of that. They're just creating their little accumulation here, and they're ready to buy. You see, they're supporting the bid. They're ready to move up out of this accumulation, and the volume point of control has now moved down into this area. So after all that big buying that I showed you at the London Open, this area is still has the most volume comparative to all that buying that came in, right? So you see there's heavy volume coming in here, and within this auction, the volume point of control is now at this level, right? So we have heavy buying coming in here. We're holding above volume point of control, pushing above, retesting, pushing above, right? So with my entry being like around here, I'm taking a little heat sometimes, right? I'm going underwater sometimes, but I'm banking on the big buying that came in at the London session open. So liquidity target, got my target, heavy volume buying starting to push through, but this is a jump, they call it a jump above the creek, which is a breakout above the automatic rally and the uptrust action. We have the jump across the creek, push up, retest the automatic, the uptrust action, and then it goes. But I exit the trade here. Let me see, hold on. Right, so basically I didn't really have to exit the trade, but we ran into my liquidity target. This was the target I was looking for. This is VWAP. We broke above VWAP. Just show you there. We break out of VWAP. We push up, we hit my target, heavy volume starting to come in. As soon as we exhaust to the top side here, I just exit at 58.3250, which is here. Right, so that's my exit right there. As soon as we get this big bubble here and we start rotating to the downside, we have this liquidity target. Price would come back here, check these, take on these, actually interact. They'll get their fill, right? Because they're trying to enter the market, or probably that's their stop loss after big buying. So we're definitely, well, not definitely, but usually that's how the order flow works. It comes and it tags liquidity, right? So that was my liquidity tag for my target. We hit another liquidity up here. We have this sign of exhaustion. I exit the trade. And yeah, that was the trade right there. So this is a PA account, and that was the PNL on the day. Right, so yeah, that's it. Bowling green strategy, reversal. Let's see where price action actually got up to, right? Because usually I'm looking for an upper deviation target from a lower deviation to an upper deviation on the VWAP bands. So let's see if we actually got up to there. Right, so that's first upper deviation. If I held the trade, right, so we pushed up here, pull back. Let me use the arrows. Right, that was my exit. Trade pull back, pushed up again, pull back, pushed up, almost hit first upper deviation, pull back. This is a major sign of probably to exit the trade, because now volume point of control is migrating up here. This is now the volume point of control. Price is selling off of it, right? Pushing down. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe when you retest here, you get sellers. All of this is a sign to exit, but buyers are strong. They push it above, they retest, it migrates up. We almost get the target. So you see, there's a lot of back and forth you have to go through. If you're micromanaging this trade, then you mightn't get the full target, right? So liquidity comes in the book, supports price, we push up and we get the target. Right, so yeah, that's my bowling green strategy right there. I didn't hold for everything. That's what I took, and yeah, that's it. All right, yo, it's my Yaka'al Shalama, and this is MELEK Shelemoh Trading, and yeah, that's my bowling green strategy. Apex PA account. All right, shalom.